Hello everyone, I'm Madison, and these are my teammates Mai and Emmy, and today we'd like to introduce Cultureclub, a storytelling application. At the start of our project, we surveyed 69 people in our target population. They were born in the 10 different countries shown here on the left, and yet have lived in the 54 countries shown here on the right. So, I have a question for all of you in the audience. By a show of hands, how many of you have an answer ready if someone asks, "Where are you from?" Great, can put your hands down, thank you. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about a group that has a lot of trouble answering this question, and here's why. The people represented in the maps are third culture kids, or TCKs. They are people who have spent their formative years in a culture that is different than that of their parents. As a use case, we looked at American TCKs who grew up abroad. Common examples are diplomat kids, military kids, missionary kids, or expat kids who move frequently due to their parents' jobs. As of 2007, there were an estimated 4 million US citizens and their families living overseas, either permanently or temporarily, and that number has risen since and is still rising. Here are some people you may not have known are TCKs. As you can see, there are a large number of them, but many are hidden. There are many great things about growing up as a TCK. They often get to experience multiple cultures and learn languages from a young age. One individual we spoke to said, "When I was younger, I only saw pros, being able to see more of the world, developing another level of empathy." Almost all of the TCKs we spoke to mentioned that their experiences made them more open-minded and empathetic.
However, it's not all great. Research has shown that frequent transitions present challenges for TCKs, especially when they return to the US for college. College is a period when people begin to define who they are as adults. For TCKs, it's about navigating their own self-discovery while simultaneously redefining themselves within American culture. For many TCKs, identity formation, which normally happens during adolescence, occurs later in life, often at the same time they are returning to the US to attend university. This can affect TCKs' feelings of self-esteem and self-efficacy, as well as other factors that can contribute to attrition or dropout rates. One of the issues TCKs face during this transition is connecting with other students. This TCK said, "It was hard to relate to people who grew up with such different experiences," in reference to meeting people at the start of college. We also found that many TCKs struggled with a sense of identity due to their highly mobile childhoods and blended cultural values. This student noted that, "My mom says I'm like chop suey, an American dish that's falsely Chinese." In summary, TCKs feel alienated when returning to the US for college, and they lack a perceptible community to empathize with this transition. In response to this, we created Cultureclub. To give you a sense of how it works, we'd like to introduce you to Andrea.
I'm Andrea. I was born in Seattle and moved to Brazil when I was 3 because of my dad's job. I've moved a lot, 5 times across 3 different countries. I went to high school in Tokyo and moved back to the US for college. While I have a US passport, America doesn't feel like home. In fact, home for me isn't really a physical place. It's more about the people that make me feel like I'm a part of something, like I belong. I am a blend of different cultures, and what resonates with me most is the space in between. I'm what you might call a third culture kid. When I started college, it was hard to find people who relate to my experiences. But then I discovered Cultureclub, an app where I can find stories from others with a cross-cultural upbringing and share my own. The app shows me other third culture kids in my city who are also interested in meeting up in person. and makes it easy to connect with people like me. College is a transitional period, and everyone is trying to find their people. With a designated space to tell my story, and the comfort of knowing others are on a similar journey, I finally found mine.
Cultureclub connects college-age TCKs by allowing them to share stories in response to daily prompts specific to TCK experiences. You might be wondering how this is different from existing social media. Current platforms are cluttered with reposted and sponsored content that isn't necessarily relevant to users. With Cultureclub, we wanted to create an app where stories are generated by community members and serve as a meaningful starting point for genuine connection and conversation.
So how do we differentiate ourselves from other social media? Structured posting encourages users to share relevant stories and ask questions to the community. We want to make sure content on Cultureclub is relevant. Users can read stories from others who have lived in similar cities as them and connect over shared experiences. Fill-in-the-blank style prompts give users a place to reflect on their own experiences and makes user-generated content consistent. Prompts span from lighthearted to more serious. Some examples with real answers gathered from TCKs are, when people ask me where I'm from, I say, it's kind of a long story. Before I moved to the US, I'd never heard of tailgating. When I'm homesick, I rearrange my house. Using prompts and curating content to be TCK specific is something our users are interested in. One of our research participants said, I only like interacting with content I'm personally connected to. I would want a framework for people who have shared experience with me. Additionally, users can opt in to meet other TCKs in their current city. Many students we spoke to felt like they were the only TCKs on their campus, but oftentimes they are not alone. We wanted to create a space where a visible community could grow. One TCK noted that, the next change I would want in my apps, I would want something that doesn't feel so superficial. And if you could actually make it affect your real life, make friends through that, that would be awesome. So, what now? Our target user group is very narrow, but we can see how many of these struggles can apply to other hidden groups. Can any of you think of a hidden community that you might be a part of? In the future, we might explore how this type of platform maps to populations such as immigrant or international students, those struggling with bullying or mental illnesses. And something that's always nice to hear is that your users want to use your product. Almost all of our research participants asked if Cultureclub was going to be a real thing. After putting our concept in front of TCKs, these were a couple of reactions we got. I get that feeling in my tummy. These people understand. A sense of community when you're feeling lost, being the lonely transplant. I think that would be really nice, knowing that there's other people in your shoes. In summary, Cultureclub is a mobile app that encourages third culture kids to tell their stories and find their people. As the world becomes more and more globalized, we can learn from TCK's cross-cultural experiences and strive to use technology to highlight what we all have in common, rather than what sets us apart. Now we'd like to say a few thank yous. First and foremost, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Davey from Substantial. Thank you for your mentorship and your guidance through this project. Thank you to our participants for your insight and your willingness to help. And we'd also like to say thank you to the MHCID program staff and our peers. We couldn't be here today without your support and feedback during this process. And now we'll open it up for any questions.